Hello everyone. So in this video we're going to be talking about some subtle tactics that narcissists use to control you. Because yes, there are many overt tactics that you may pick up on. And you can see what they're doing, why they're doing it. You can see that they're trying to maintain control. But there are also some other things going on that you may not see. And so we're going to talk about these things in this video so that you will be more aware and better able to detect it. The first one is delayed validation. Now, narcissists use a lot of tricks with validation. As we know, they withhold validation to leave you chasing after it. And also, they may love bomb you initially to get you hooked. But there's also something else going on, something that many of you don't see. And that is this delayed validation. So they withhold praise, affection, or approval. And then they wait until they have gradually destabilized you, until you're emotionally off balance. And then they give the validation. Then they try to temporarily raise your spirits. Because after such a long time, you're so used to just being battered by them emotionally, being brought down, that you're starved of acknowledgement and validation. So that when they delay it, and then it arrives eventually, it feels like oxygen. It's like you can finally breathe. You can finally relax and be calm. And this trains your nervous system to chase their timing instead of trusting your own worth. Another one is the false transparency. This is where they will confess small flaws or past mistakes to appear self-aware and safe, while they continue to hide their real behaviors. It makes you feel closer to them when they appear to be vulnerable and they're admitting faults or mistakes. But the intimacy is carefully rationed, and it is strategically misleading. And we have the emotional rewrites, where after an argument, they will redefine what actually happened. And they will do it in a calm way. Calm, yet they appear very confident with full conviction that they know they hold the definition of what happened in this argument. They may not deny facts, but they will reframe motives. So suddenly you weren't hurt, You were too sensitive. And it shifts your memory until doubt starts to creep in. And there's selective amnesia. These promises, boundaries, or agreements vanish only when they become inconvenient. They remember everything that benefits them, but they forget everything that protects you. And the final one is the borrowed identity. They subtly adopt your language, values, pain points, and even your healing concepts. And they use them to gain credibility and control. So it feels like you're being mirrored until you realize that actually your reflection is being worn as a costume. And you feel it, the grief, the loss, that something has been taken away from you. And that now they are using it, they are wearing it. They are using it to gain credibility and validation. And yet, of course, they also use it to make you feel like you're deficient, like you're missing something, or that something is wrong with you. But yeah, this is what they will do, and this is why, you have to be aware of it, these psychological mind games that they will play, anything to keep you trapped, to keep you under their control, because that is right where they want you, so that they can continue extracting the supply, the validation, and the sense of superiority, which they can't get if, you are fully conscious and aware. So that's why the control is so important to them. So yeah, definitely, be aware of these mind games that they engage in. Narcissists, they don't like truth. They don't like reality. They don't want anything to do with it. They create their own worlds. And this isn't something where they're just fantasizing, like where they just make use of their imagination. No. They manipulate, control, orchestrate the external environment to make it the way that they would like it to be, through manipulating, coercing people. And that's exactly what they're doing with you. That's why they play these games. But yeah, this is it. When you're in it, you often don't even see what is happening, but your body keeps the score. And you're also being trained to see it as though, nothing is really wrong, that they haven't done anything to you. And this is all just in your mind, you're just crazy. Meanwhile, they're playing these games. What can really help is to look back at old photographs, or remember the things that you used to do. Remember how things are now. Remember how much has changed. And another thing, I was filming a video earlier, and just looking back at the video, it's so scary sometimes, if you just record yourself on your phone. Set the phone a few meters away from you and just speak a few sentences. Maybe just speak about your experiences over the past few days or the past few weeks. Play it back and really pay attention to yourself. Pay attention to just your facial expressions, your body language, how you're speaking. It's really scary sometimes, what this abuse can do to you. It can really shut you down. Like whatever it was that you were going towards, that you were driven to, this abuse, it tends to push you in the opposite direction. And so you may see that you're more closed off, you're more withdrawn. A very common symptom that people often report is that they feel trapped inside their own body, or trapped, hidden behind their eyes. And that the real part of themselves is not really even there, like unable to interact with people. Because that's just it, the narcissist never wanted you. They never cared about you. They wanted to use you for the gifts, the qualities that you have. They just wanted to make use of that. And of course, what better way to be able to make use of it than to break through the boundaries, open you up, pull all of that out of you, but then also make you weak and submissive so that they're able to access these things. And so that's what they do. And they train you over a long period of time. They train your nervous system to respond to specific cues. And you may find that after a certain amount of time, you begin to follow these cues automatically, even with the stimuli no longer present. You're still following this kind of routine that they've laid out for you. And they don't even need to be there anymore. It's programming, conditioning, brainwashing through repeated use of the same stimulus. And it's because they want you to follow very specific patterns of behaviors, which are really just a reflection of their own insecurities. Another very common symptom that victims often report is the learned helplessness. This is a very common thing. You feel like no matter what you do, you just can't change anything, no matter how much you try, or as though you're not allowed to anyway. Like you have to lay down, you have to submit. And so you develop almost like a paralysis. It's a trauma response where you just freeze. Because it's like a double bind, no matter what you do is wrong. Whether you go this way, that way, whether you do this or that, it's wrong either way. Nothing you do is right. So you just kind of give up, you just become helpless, you freeze. And because maybe they trained you to be that way. Maybe that's what benefited them, is you just freezing, being paralyzed so that they could just take what they wanted from you. Without opposition. So, the nervous system learns these things. And it's just whatever will keep you safe, whatever they want from you. Your brain will just tune in and figure out whatever it is that they want, whatever type of state they want you to begin, and your brain will just tap into it immediately because it's in fight or flight. It's just programmed to keep you safe. So you may just become paralyzed. And that's just it, because everything with narcissists, it's all a performance. It's all about them having power, dominance, control. So many victims, by the end of it, they're just kind of like frozen in time. Their eyes are wide open. And their jaw just kind of drops. As though, they have quite literally been brainwashed. Because that's a look that people tend to have when they have been brainwashed, indoctrinated with some type of programming. And that's really it, that's how they want it to be, is that, you're just kind of paralyzed, frozen. They come in, they take whatever they want from you. And then you just sit back and watch the movie of their life play out. You watch them dominate and control everything. You watch them going after, whatever they need to, new supplies, acquiring, obtaining, consuming. And you just sit there in this paralysis as you starve emotionally until they come back. And then, of course, by the time they come back, you're in a really desperate position. But you're ready, you're eager, you're willing. And then they can breadcrumb you to get more out of you, or to gain more control. So that's really how this dynamic functions. And it can cause you to become really fragile, shy, timid. I mean, it can get to a point where it's like, you may have been starved for months, years even. And, it can go either way. It could be the narcissist comes back, they breadcrumb you, and immediately, you're pulled in. Or it could be the other extreme, where it's like they offer you something, and even though, they've like starved you out completely, you're just like, no, don't worry about me. This is what happens. And this is the position that they want to keep you in. This is why they delay the validation. They focus on destabilizing you, making you not feel good in your own body. And then they time the validation when it's like you can't take any more, because they've done all of these things to you. You no longer feel good about yourself. You can no longer do the things that you need to do for yourself. And they've likely isolated you. You have no other support. And so it just kind of binds you to them, which of course is exactly how they want it to be. It's a horrible experience to go through. It really is. I mean, the symptoms is just, it's like you're highly alert, but always just tired, fatigued, just running on adrenaline. Like you're just on this constant emotional roller coaster, the highs and lows. And always anticipating, when it's going to be the next attack. So it's almost like a paranoia that can develop. And you may notice, your eyes are often very wide and your eyes shift very quickly. You may also blink excessively. It suggests you're under a lot of stress. And then there's breathing difficulties, a tight chest, a tense throat, constant shortness of breath. It puts a lot of stress on the body. It really does. Because, you are a beacon of light. You are a vessel of energy. And they see that. They see that you have the ability to regulate yourself. They don't. And they want to get that out of you. They want to take that ability that you have to stabilize your own nervous system. They're trying to turn that into a resource for themselves because they're unable to do that for themselves. And this is how it just wears you down, tires you out. And of course, it may be a routine that you're all very familiar with. Throughout the day, you just get drained out completely. You develop all of these, like inflammation in the body. So it's just constant pain throughout the entire body. Headaches, eye strain, because, you're always having to focus and, watch them dominate and everything and kind of just living their lives. You have to observe it to make it feel real for them. You have to be the audience for their performance. So there's the eye strain as well. And yeah, by the end of the day, because all of this is being overused to the point of exhaustion, your eyes, your brain, and you're not allowed to criticize anything. You're not allowed to speak. So you get a lot of tension in the throat and chest area. So just pain and inflammation throughout the body until finally, they've gotten everything they can out of you. And now they're looking for a fresh new source of supply. They may already have one, and so they go off to the new source and they leave you alone, where you just feel broken, destroyed. And then that's the time when you're kind of left to heal yourself, but they won't ever give you that. No, they want to induce anxiety in you, tension, wondering, where are they going off to though? Who's this new supply? What are they doing now? And so you have all of this anxiety, insomnia, you can't even sleep. So you can't even heal, and they don't want you to heal. They want to keep you in that state because then that's perfect for them when they come back. They've still got you under control. They could just keep you on the shelf. As for the narcissist, typically they're busy with you throughout the morning, perhaps into the afternoon as well, just busy extracting all of their supply from whatever amount of sleep you managed to get, where you did have some sort of healing. They want to get all of that out of you. So they're busy working on you and manipulating you, coercing you, intimidating you, insulting you, putting you down, all of these things. All negativity to take away from you. That's why it's negative. It's not positive. It's not encouraging you. It's depleting you. And yeah, once they start to see, you are really they've really got as much as they can out of you. Then they disappear because you've become this platform for them. You've lifted them up, you've given them that supply. It doesn't mean that they're satisfied. Once they've gotten that supply from you, that then gives them the fuel they need to go out and get more supply. With you, it was negative. With someone else, it's going to be positive. Because now, they've gotten the supply from you. You were the negative supply. So then they go off with a new supply. They have all of this fun, excitement, adrenaline, thrill-seeking, until finally they just get exhausted themselves. Because when they're doing all of this stuff, all of these addictions, it wears them out as well. And so by the end of the day, eventually they collapse themselves. And then it starts again the next day. Always the same routine. For you, it's a very familiar routine, I'm sure. Where the entire day you're just being broken down, they're just extracting from you. So much discomfort in your mind and body. All you want is peace, stability, optimism, support, encouragement. And then by the end of the day, you're drained out. Your body is just in so much pain, inflamed. You just can't even think straight by the end of it. Your mind's just in a fog. All of this anxiety. And they just overlook, they just don't even acknowledge everything you provided to them. All of your emotions, your optimism, the stability. They just make it out like something's wrong with you, you're not good enough. They take what you provided and then they run off to the new supply. And now they're all positive, now they're having fun. And often even taking your identity with them. Not only your energy, but sometimes even your words, even your style. And using that to lure in new sources. But yeah, I mean, you're very lucky if they don't try and triangulate you and bring you into this new situation with a new source. And instead, they do just leave you alone in the evening or whatever. And there's no anxiety about where they go or, what they're doing. If they cheated on you. You're much better off that way, if you can actually get some rest at night. Because that could be the worst part, after they've already broken you down throughout the day. And then they've got all of this anxiety, wondering, what are they doing now? And then you can't even sleep. So you can't even recover. And then, of course, well, that's just it, though. You may not even be thinking about the next day, like what's going to happen tomorrow. Because you kind of just blame yourself for their condition. And you keep thinking in your minds, tomorrow I'll do this, tomorrow I'll say that. I'll be more optimistic, I'll be more encouraging. Then things will be better. You just justify, rationalize it day after day, sometimes for months, even years. And you're never seeing any positive changes. You're just being breadcrumbs sometimes with a bit of delayed validation. Other than that, you're just being starved out completely, unable to function, barely even getting by. Meanwhile, they're thriving with all of these sources of supply. But this is it, and this is a big part of it. What really ruins us is how we we ourselves, we try to normalize everything because we don't want to bring shame on them. We don't want to blame them. We walk on eggshells around them. We have to act like everything is fine, as though there's no problem. And this builds up tension, this resistance to what is actually true. That brings all of this tension in us to deny it. So that's a big part of it. Because you do know at some level, yes, you are the safety net. Yes, you are the glue that is holding everything together. Because unlike them, you're unable to forget about the truth. You do hold on to it. And yet you just act like it's not really happening to try and save them or to make them feel more comfortable, because that's how you've been conditioned to be, because they don't want any discomfort. You're meant to be their source of comfort and stability. But yeah, it really just wears you down. And it's a big part of it, the way that you're trained to just blame yourself for everything. But it's like no matter how much you blame yourself, it's not going to change anything because you're not the problem. But it's a big part of the healing is the acceptance, is recognizing what is your purpose, what is your role in all of this, what are you providing, and what is your current state or condition, how depleted are you? And this is it, if you even ask yourself that question, you may be thinking, do I even have the right to ask myself that? To ask myself, how am I feeling? What is my current condition? What am I going through? You may not even feel like you have the right to ask yourself that. Because that's just it. You've been denied, dismissed, invalidated, overlooked, neglected for such a long time. It's never been about you, maybe even your entire life. So you may feel a lot of guilt for asking yourself, how do I feel? What is my current condition like? But that's where you've got to start. You've got to be honest with yourself. And here's the thing, because you've been denying it for such a long time, when you actually take a good look at yourself, it may be very shocking and disturbing. Because this is it. They train you to overlook things. They train you to kind of see yourself as though everything's fine, as though there's nothing wrong with you. Until by the end, they end up calling you crazy, calling you unstable, because they've done all these things to you that by the end of it, you may feel and look crazy. You may be unstable, because that's what this does to you. That's why it's so important to be honest with ourselves. That's how I felt for a very long time after going through this. I just feel like a nervous wreck. It's like my nervous system has been all over the place, constant, just adrenaline. But, I am a very strong person. That part is true. I'm very resilient, and that's how most of my life I can just pretend like nothing's wrong. Of course, that's what makes us such a good source of supply. But it will always get to a point where it's like, I can't carry the weight of this anymore. I have to accept what I'm actually feeling, the effects that this is having on me. Eventually, many of you do get to that point. And I would say that usually, depending on at what point in your life that you wake up to this, that kind of determines how good of a supply you were, depending on the length of that time. But yeah, it is unbearable. It really is. I don't think there is any person in this world who could sustain a narcissist. There's just no way. Because how could you manage someone else's condition that they're in denial of, and from the external, from outside, while they're thinking there's nothing wrong with themselves? You can't. So no matter how good you try to be, that's not going to change anything. But this is it. It really just runs you down. 25 live viewers, give it a thumbs up if it's helpful so far. Yeah, it's horrible. Just the pain throughout the body, like the tension and the inflammation. It's a horrible feeling. I just feel like I could do with a massage every day. Because it's like just the muscles and the bones just feel so tight and tense and just aching. And I know that's not from working out. It's a very different feeling. Like when I go to the gym, my muscles ache, but they don't ache that way. And actually go to the gym, it helps a lot. Exercising, getting the blood circulating. That seems to be a big part of it, because it seems that, I don't know, it's like the blood seems to like pool in certain parts of the body. And it may feel like the blood isn't circulating properly to the brain. Like you feel like you're like flushed and like dizzy, lightheaded. Yeah, it's just very difficult, when because it's like your life. It's about managing someone else's emotions, and so it kind of cuts through and just screws up all of your neurocircuitry, and you don't feel connected to your body anymore. By the end of it, it's like you look at like your hand, and it's like it doesn't even feel like it's your hand. It's like you become like a robot, like it, because it screws up all of the 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 electrical signals that are being sent to and from your brain. So you can't like move your body in the way that you would like. And, just cognitive function, like with speaking, you can't speak how you would like to. You can't operate your body in the way that you would like. Because, someone else is dependent on it. Someone else needs your body. Someone else needs your system to alleviate, the symptoms of their disorder. And it's just a horrible feeling. It's like, God gave me this brain, God gave me this body, and I can't even use it. It's like it's not even mine anymore. It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And my face, I look in the mirror, I don't even recognize myself anymore. And my voice, when I speak to people, I feel like someone else is doing the talking. Oh, it's so sad. It's horrible. But that's just it, isn't it? That's what they were jealous of, is your identity. They wanted that for themselves. They wanted to be you. They wanted to take parts of you and, to fill in all of the gaps for themselves, what they were missing. But a big part of it is being observed. And the narcissist knows that, they can see the effect they have on you. So they always want you to know that they are there and that they are watching you. Sometimes they will just kind of stare, glance at you, glare at you with their eyes. It's kind of like they're like breathing down your neck, they're over your shoulder. They're always there in everything you do. Even on social media, they always want you to know that they're there. They'll like a post. So that every time you go to post anything or, anything that you're doing, or if they know, you're going somewhere, they will make some kind of reference about that. So then you're still being controlled. You're still being influenced. You're still just being the character that they want you to be. Because like I said, they don't want anything to do with truth or legality. Because they themselves, they're operating with a false character. And so they assign this character to you as well. Your character that they give to you is just all of these just jumbled up things. It just doesn't even make any sense. It's just all screwed up. It's just all about just not having any sense of purpose or direction, with all of these distorted meanings and interpretations, confusion. And that's just it, anytime that you cling to anything that actually means something to you or makes you feel something, they really don't like that. Because that's you. That's why. Such as if you like a certain sport or a certain song, it's a part of you because it's something that you resonate with. So it starts within you, otherwise you wouldn't be able to perceive of it. You wouldn't feel pulled towards it if it wasn't a reflection of something to do with you in some sort of way. So, yeah, as soon as they see that you cling to anything, or you feel something for anything, straight away they have to refer to it. They have to be enmeshed in it, because that's going to threaten their control. That's going to allow you to find your own sense of autonomy and independence. And it's going to remind them that, well, it's going to stir up their feelings of insecurity, inadequacy, from seeing your freedom. And that's what it's all about, deep down they don't feel good enough. That's why they do these things. It's because they're not happy with themselves. Thank you, Root, for the donation. I do appreciate all of your support. I'm just on you, giving you these facts. From everything that I've seen with my experiences, I'm just giving it all to you so that you can be aware of it. And then you will pick up on these patterns when you come across them. I just want you all to experience a sense of independence and freedom. And just peace and calm in your own body. Because it's a horrible thing to go through. Like people say, it's the worst type of abuse. Just the brain fog, the disorientation, the inflammation, everything. It's horrible. But this is it, when you're being used like an appliance, and at the same time you're not being taken care of. You're just being depleted. You're being mistreated. Then naturally, yes, you develop these symptoms. You experience these effects. That's just what inevitably will happen. You just got to focus on taking care of yourself as much as you can. Have the awareness of whatever you're feeling, because, they trained you to dissociate and to, not feel grounded in your body, to not recognize that, your body's in pain, your body's in flames, or that, you can't even see clearly right now. You can't think. They train you to just overlook these things or act like they're normal, when these are very strange behaviors that you should not be experiencing. But you are experiencing these things under their influence. So the first thing is to become aware of it. Of course, don't ever confront them. Don't ever tell them, oh, my body's aching. I can't even think. My vision is blurry. Don't ever express these things, because instantly they're going to think, oh, so I'm the problem. You're blaming me. And then they're just going to want to abuse and punish you even more for that. So it will just make things a lot worse for you. Instead, you keep all of these things to yourself. And, you do what you have to do. You see a doctor if you can, if you have a supportive doctor, or you look online. There's like different kinds of herbal remedies. There's all different kinds of supplements, and you have to treat these things. Of course, this isn't really going to treat it though, because it might improve the effects. It might relieve some pain, but it's not going to treat the root cause, because the root cause is outside of you. So that there's nothing inside of yourself that you can fix or heal that's going to make it better. You can try all the medicine, all of the supplements in the world. The fact is, if you don't have a mental illness, then there's nothing for you to heal. So, that's why we often talk about going no contact, or limited contact at the very least. And you will notice this. We can test this out. Start writing a journal. Start timing yourself. How much time you spend around the narcissist per day. Write it down at the end of each day. And also write down how you felt that day. What symptoms did you experience? And then gradually, as the days go by, you spend less and less time around the narcissist. You spend more time to yourself. And then again, you write it down how you feel at the end of the day. You will notice a pattern very quickly. Very quickly, you will see the less time you spend around the narcissist, the better you feel. Because these problems, these symptoms, the cause is outside of you. You are fine. This is the thing. Problem is, it can create, or at least increase the risk of certain illnesses in us as victims. And so then we end up with conditions that we are having to treat separately. But even then, you haven't really got a problem if you could admit, and I know it sounds like a paradox, but it's true. You haven't got a problem if you could admit that you have a problem. So if you have an addiction and you're not in denial about it, you could be like, yes, okay, I have this addiction. And you could identify the steps that you need to take to improve this issue. And you have the motivation and discipline behind it. Then it's not really a problem, is it? With the narcissist, it is a problem because they can't confront it. In their minds, there's nothing wrong. They don't see an issue with themselves. In their minds, they're perfect. So, then of course, it makes sense, just imagine if thousands of years ago, everyone thought that everything's perfect. What would the world be like today? this is it, that's why there always has to be something wrong with us. We always have to have all of these problems. But honestly, even if there was a perfect person in the world, the exact same thing that's happened with you would happen with them if they were around the narcissist. And actually, as I said before, the more perfect that you are, so the better your qualities are, the more attractive you are physically, the more successful, the more that it will affect you, the worse it's going to be for you. The higher up you go, the more you've got to go down, the more they're going to bring you down. If you just stay kind of flat, kind of level, yeah, you're going to have ups and downs, but it's not going to be anything extreme. So don't ever think, that you're not successful enough, not attractive enough, or that you don't possess certain qualities or abilities or whatever it is. Even if you had everything, that would just make things far worse for you. It would not make anything better. And some of you may have had certain things before, and look how that turned out. And yeah, they may have blamed that on you. But think about it. Whatever they blamed you for, even if it was true, even if you were to blame, are you saying that, are they saying that, if that didn't happen, then you would have just lived happily ever after with no other hurdles, no other obstacles coming afterwards? Do you really believe that? If you know these people, you know what's wrong with them, what they're capable of, their behaviors. So even if you possess certain qualities or abilities or certain success or whatever at one point in time, and something happens, of course they blamed you. Here's the irony about it. And I say this sensitively, that quite well could have been the best thing that ever happened for you. Even if, yes, they caused it. Because what would have happened later if you kept going, if you kept developing qualities and success, and it could have gotten to a point where you wouldn't have seen any point in even living anymore by the end of it. Because, what if you become super successful, you become a millionaire, and then the narcissist disrupts everything. 10, 20 years down the line, you're not going to see any purpose to life whatsoever. This is what happens with many people in the stock market. They gamble it all, they lose it, they just commit suicide. They don't see any point in living. So if the narcissist disrupts things early on, that could actually be a blessing in disguise. Because if you had kept going, it could have been a lot worse for you later on. Not could, it would have been. It 100% definitely would have been. It would never have gotten better. There is no one anywhere in the world who's ever made anything better with a narcissist. It always gets worse. And the better you are, the worse it will be. And that's the truth. yeah. It's dry out there today. No rain. But yeah, I enjoyed sharing this with you. I'm sure it resonates with so many of you who are going through this. It's such a horrible thing to go through. All I can really say is, share as little as you can. Limit your contact as much as you can. Any kind of passions or values or whatever you have, keep it to yourself. And, focus on your healing. Focus on regulating your nervous system, deep breathing. A lot of this, it's maintenance. Because of course, if you're still involved with a narcissist, you're going to struggle to heal. But you've at least got to keep yourself going because, as you get older, this stuff can take decades of your life. It really can. If you do the research, you will see it could take 20, 30 years of your lifespan. So you've got to focus on the maintenance of these conditions. Just keeping your nervous system regulated, managing the inflammation, especially focusing on the brain. Because, I'm sure many victims, they can develop Parkinson's, Alzheimer's as they get older. So take all of these things into consideration. And start now. Get those supplements. Eat a healthy diet. Just do what you can. And keep it consistent. Keep a routine. And if you would like private one-on-one coaching, you can book with me. Check out the website. It's narcsurvivor.co.uk. Thank you all for joining me on another Narc Survivor live video. And I'll talk to you in another video very soon.